All right, you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days? Yeah, I bet. Who doesn't? You want to do it and you want it to be extremely easy. Of course. I can do this, I can make this happen, I can even show you, but the reality is, you know you, and I have a feeling I know you too. But anyway, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Let's do this.
Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to visit David. His YouTube channel is called Free to Be, and believe it or not, he doesn't really talk about dieting as much as he does financial literacy. But in today's video, he's going to be talking about what happened after he quit drinking soda. He's going to touch a little bit about the weight, the calories, the sugar side of it. But he's also going to talk a little bit about how he saved some money. And in his case, he was spending 3, 4, $5 a day, which if you multiply that out over the course of a year, can be pretty substantial. And for some of us that have trouble with our savings account, that might even be a great way to start changing things on that front. So with that being said, I'm going to be quiet. Let's hear what David has to say.
And that's basically 175,000 calories a year. What's up, everybody? David here from Free to Be, and thank you for joining me in this video. In this video, we're going to cover how cutting out soda, had such a dramatic impact on my life and what it could do for you in terms of saving you money and really the health benefits of cutting out this sugary beverage that none of us need. So we're going to cover that in today's video.
But one thing David here does really well, I feel like he's looking right at me. So when you're listening to his words, look into his eyes because it feels like he's looking into ours, right? And listen to what he has to say. I think you're going to really like this video.
Do appreciate everyone that's returning. Okay, so really up to a couple years ago, I was consuming so much soda that I could feel it every day when I woke up. I would wake up sluggish. In the afternoons, I'd almost crash from this like buzz I was getting from the sugar from the soda. It was really not the most ideal place to be in my life. So I decided one day that I was going to just cut out soda, completely stop cold turkey, because I knew that there was some negative impacts it was having on my life and on my wallet. I mean, I was spending like $3, $4 a day if you consider, the cans I was buying or 20-ounce bottles each and every day. I mean, that's another $50, $60 a month that I was spending on soda, an unnecessary sugary drink that's really just no good for you. And in this video, I'm going to be
So real quick, 50 or 60 bucks a month, unless my math fails me, that's about 600 plus dollars per year. I think we can all agree if we had that 600 bucks to maybe put towards our gas tank, maybe we wouldn't care so much about how incredibly ridiculous the prices of gas are right now.
talking about how it had all these impacts on my personal life, but really when you think about it, it can have so many dramatic impacts on your life as well, not just from a health perspective, but from a money saving perspective as well. So what you should consider here is, what is the objective, right? So right away, we should all be striving to be at a healthy weight, and cutting out soda is one of the fastest ways we can get there. Literally inches of waistline will be added to you if you're consistently drinking soda. And by cutting it out, you can reduce that impact. And it's not just the calories, guys. Sometimes we just sit there and think about calories. And yes, one can of, soda does have anywhere between 140 to 180 calories per can, which is crazy for a can of, liquid. So we can cut that out, but you also have to look at it in terms of the other impacts that it has. One can of soda usually has anywhere between 35 to 45 grams of sugar, which is an inordinate amount of sugar. None of us need that, especially through a drink. If you're having it more than once a day, I mean, you're talking 80 to 100 grams of sugar a day just off your drink. That is just insane. So that's one reason right there to cut it out of your life. And guys, it's not enough to just cut out soda and then substitute it with another sugary drink. So for example, we might think of like sports drink after we exercise as being good for us. But in reality, that thing is chock full of calories as well that'll basically negate the entire workout that you had preceding the drinking of that sports drink.
That is super interesting because if you think about it, guys, a lot of people believe that sports teams give their athletes Gatorade, but you're only seeing half the picture. That Gatorade is diluted down like 1 to 1 with water, sometimes even a little bit more water, considering they put ice in there as well. So again, if you think that you're making this great move by going from soda to a sport drink, you really are. But you want to keep moving with that. So if you can go from that sport drink to maybe drinking half the sport drink, half water, and really try to get as close as you can to water as quickly as you can, that's probably the key to success.
So you need to cut that out as well. Any kind of sugary juice or any other kind of sugary drink should be cut out of your diet as well. You should really strive to have sugar-free type alternatives. The best one being water, of course. Try to cut out those sugary drinks out of your life because they really do have more of a negative impact than they do positive. And I want you to think about this as well. Drinking just 40 ounces of soda a day, so two 20-ounce bottles, is an extra 175,000 calories in 1 year. You see how crazy that is? So even if you drank one 20-ounce bottle, that's somewhere between 85,000 calories a year.
What do you guys think when you hear that? Our boy here, David, actually went ahead and did the math for a year. Just like the other day, Trainer Joe did the calorie counting and realized how we could lose 100 pounds, right? I think that's a little extreme. But what David's talking about here, I think it's very doable. But then again, you're talking to a guy that only has 1 or 2 cans of soda a year. If the average person is having 80,000 calories of this stuff a year, then don't you see how cutting even a fourth of your soda consumption out can be huge?
So it's still an inordinate amount of calories for a drink that is just ridiculous. There's no need to have that in our lives, so we should look to cut it out. And I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I cut out soda basically about a year and a half ago. And I mean, when I cut it out, I went cold turkey. Now, yes, there is an occasion every few months or so that I might have one soda, and I try to limit it to those 100-calorie cans that they have out now. And that's really far and few between when I have those or indulge in one of those. But I was drinking like probably 1 can a day on average, sometimes as much as 2 cans a day is that on average. And when I cut it out, I noticed a huge change in my life, in my mood, in my personality, and the energy levels that I had. I was way more full of energy. It was easier for me to get up, and I did lose some weight. I mean, almost immediately, within a few months of giving up soda, I had lost almost 15 pounds, and that's huge.
That is huge. 15 pounds just by giving up soda. Some of you don't want to give up soda, but I mean, come on, if 15 pounds can be taken away from you, it might be worth it. Why don't you guys challenge yourself to give up soda for 1 day? And if you manage to get rid of it for 1 day, maybe you can start having it every other day. Slowly but surely, we got to get this stuff out of our lives.
We all have weight goals, especially with the New Year's now in place, and we all, had these New Year's resolutions, and a lot of us had the weight loss as part of that. Cut out your sugary drinks, switch to only water for 2 to 3 months, and tell me that you don't get results. I promise you that you will. And it's not just buying the grocery good of a soda can, right? When you go out to eat, sodas tend to be where the restaurants make the highest margin. They sell you a fountain soda for $2 to $3, sometimes as high as $4, and that costs them about 25 to 45 cents. So that's really where they're making their margins, and it ends up costing you a lot more to get it anyways. So if you cut that out, I mean, you're going out with 2 people, that's a $10 save basically on your bill every time. That's another benefit to doing this. That's another few $100s a year that you can save just by cutting out soda at a restaurant. Think about it. If you just went and just got water and a meal, how much lower would your bill be? And it goes beyond money as well. I know that we're talking about money and the impact it has on your wallet, but there's definitely a lot of health benefits to cutting out soda out of your life as well. Now, like I told you, I lost weight, but it goes beyond just the weight loss. And so some of the health benefits that go beyond the weight loss are going to be improved energy, better sleep, better dental health. You're going to have better blood pressure, less nervousness and anxiety throughout the day, and you severely decrease your chances of getting type 2 diabetes. So that list of health benefits alone should be enough for you to consider cutting out soda out of your life completely. And I know a lot of you watching this might be younger and thinking, hey, I'm invincible. I don't feel low energy when I drink soda. I feel great. But trust me, these problems do start compounding as you get older. And so what about diet sodas? Well, look, you're basically then replacing one addiction for another addiction. And studies have shown that when we eat sweet items, our appetites start to increase. We get hungrier. So whether it's a sweet soda that we drink or artificially sweetened diet soda, it's going to have the same impact. So it's not really going to be the best results that we're looking for. So give up sodas entirely. Don't switch from regular to diet thinking that diet's going to be way better for you. It's just artificially sweetened. So that sweetness impact is still there on your appetite. It'll cause you to eat more. You're really not going to notice the weight loss benefits of just cutting out soda completely. So just make the switch to water and you'll be way better off for it. So
You know, a video I've never seen on YouTube, which is kind of surprising. We've had Diet Coke around our whole lives, right? I've never seen hey, I lost 30 pounds by skipping out on soda for diet soda. So what David here is saying is very true. Even diet sodas, you might as well just be drinking real soda. And I'm not saying drink real soda. I'm just saying that sweet stuff tends to make you crave sweet stuff. And if you don't have diet cookies and diet this, that, and the other, you're going to end up going for just the regular, sweet stuff that everybody else eats, and you're going to be worse off for it. So if you think Diet Coke is the answer, think again.
So how do you stop drinking soda? Look, I understand that going cold turkey might not be right for everyone, and it really was a lot of work for me to do it that way, but there are ways to do this. If you do a step-by-step approach, it might be easier for you. So gradually decrease your intake of soda. So switch maybe to those 100-calorie cans I was talking about for a few weeks to decrease the intake, and then start increasing at the same time your intake of water. And if water doesn't taste the best for you, try to figure out ways to make that water taste good without putting anything that's unnatural in there. So if it's just squeezing a little bit of lemon, lime, and throwing it in there, that may work. If you want to throw some berries in your water, maybe some fresh herbs to just give it a different little taste for you, that might work as well. But basically convince yourself that this water is going to be better for you. Try to get kind of gain a taste for whatever the type of water you want to have, as long as it's naturally flavored, of course, and then slowly decrease your intake of soda, increase your intake of water, and before you know it, you will have kicked the soda habit onto something that's way better for you and has way better health benefits and saves you a ton of money. And there's just way too many benefits to dropping soda out of your life for you not to consider this at all. So think about it today, start considering an alternative, start decreasing your consumption, and then let me know if you're not seeing the results that I've been talking about today. Just let me know in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear more about your story and why your results are different from so many who cut out soda out of their lives.
He is like my Uncle Dave. He comes across as a really great guy, and I promise you, my Uncle Dave was one of the best. Listen, I think what he says makes a lot of sense. I've never really talked to you guys about it from a financial point of view, but because I don't drink coffee, I've never wasted more than $1 on a coffee, maybe for one of my family members, right? On top of that, because I don't drink soda, I probably save a ton of money there as well. When you start saving that money, maybe you can put it in your savings account, and at the end of the year, maybe you'll luck out and have $1,000 waiting for you. With that being said, think about what David said. Go to Free2Be, subscribe to David's channel, and go grab your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters, and you know what morning it is? It's your morning. Happy Mother's Day! That is awesome. My daughter and 12 other presenters are giving a speech today at this not a dollar store, but it's a used bookstore. And I think it's interesting because one of the things I talk about every once in a while is go down to a used bookstore that's owned by your local mom and pop and see if you can help buy a book from a used bookstore. So today, I'm going to a bookstore, but I think it's a new bookstore. I forget the name of it, but she's gonna be presenting, so I figured I would go and surprise her by showing up at her presentation, seeing my granddaughter and my son-in-law, and who knows, maybe afterwards they'll be up for going to the Toasted Owl for lunch. There's a little cafe out here called the Toasted Owl, and when you go inside, they have nothing but pictures of owls and little trinkets that are little baby owl trinkets and stuff, and very, very cool. So that'll be what I do today. But in addition to that, I'm going to also check out a vehicle that's a vehicle owned by a friend of the family. So I've never met this friend of the family, but his name is Al, and he's a retired gentleman that's wheelchair bound. So I kind of think that means he probably hasn't put too much wear and tear on his vehicle. And you know, when I was growing up, they always said what you'd like to do is ideally meet somebody in Sun City. That's where a lot of seniors retire to out here. Let me see, I've got a little piece of hair there by the camera lens. So the goal when I was young was to meet an elderly person that was selling their vehicle like in Sun City, because the rumor was that because they're elderly, you know, they drive their vehicle, they baby their vehicle, so to speak, and they don't drive nearly as many miles as those people that, you know, have a 9 to 5 that are commuting every day. And so that was always kind of a saying when I was growing up, that, you know, you want to buy a Sun City car. And so in this case, I'm not going to Sun City, I'm going to Ahwatukee. But I figure if this gentleman's retired and wheelchair bound, God, you might end up getting a vehicle that's, you know, significantly younger than its years would portray. God, guys, I wish you could feel how beautiful it feels this morning. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure in 10 minutes that feeling will go away, but man, sometimes you walk in the shade in the morning and it literally feels like you stepped into an air-conditioned room. Feels wonderful, but again, those days are numbered because, God, in another month it's going to be full-blown July, you know? It's like, oh my goodness, wait, what month are we in, May? Either way, a month and a half or so away from July, which is kind of like the hottest month of the year here, so I'm going to probably be complaining and venting about the heat pretty soon. But today's not about that. Today is about you ladies. Happy Mother's Day. If you're not a mom, give your mom a call. Wish her a happy Mother's Day. Don't forget about your sisters and stuff. If your sister has a child, wish her happy Mother's Day. You got to remember, sometimes people are in a rut, and sometimes their friends aren't being so friendly, and you never know. Just a surprise call from you. Yeah, we know you're there. Anyway, a surprise call from you might make their day, because it'd be kind of a bummer if you were a mom and nobody wished you a happy Mother's Day, right? Hopefully at least their kids are wishing them a happy Mother's Day, but sometimes not so much. So Mother's Day, as we all know, was established in 1982. Okay, maybe it was established a little before 1982. But that's about when I took note of it. When I was 5 or 6, I started realizing, oh, Mom's got her own day. Nice. So my mom is one of these people that really loves going to the casino and gambling. So I hooked my mom up with a little Mother's Day gambling cash and got her a card and the whole 9 yards. If you did something special for your mom, or if your kids did something special for you, you know, maybe let us know in the comments. You know, I'm getting, you know, where I'm close to 48 years old, and my mom had me when she was, I think, 21 years old. So it kind of put me in a situation where, thankfully, my mom's still with us, but I'm sure a lot of people listening, you know, your mom or dad or both might no longer be on the planet with us, you know. So even if your mom's not around, you can still hopefully think of her in a positive light today. So I've got a pretty important day. You want to know something interesting about my mom? My mom's the type that even if she has a daily walk, which I think she does, not 100% sure, but I think she takes a daily walk. She's the type that if she has a doctor's appointment that day, or maybe she has a situation where she's supposed to meet up with a friend or something, she'll ditch her whole walk, her whole day, simply because she has a doctor's appointment, you know? And a lot of times people are like that. They're like, hey, you know, I'm going to take the day off work because I have a doctor's appointment, which is understandable, right? But in the same breath, a lot of times they like give themselves permission to miss their workout and everything that day, which doesn't really make sense if you think about it, because, well, I just don't think it makes sense, period, you know? There's nothing stopping you from keeping your walk going, and even on Mother's Day weekend, I mean, is that really a reason to ditch your walk? Your walk is a gift that you're giving yourself, don't forget that. And remember, when you go into your walk, it's about jumping into your think tank. So since people have been with me for going on 2 months, you know the rules like the palm of your hand or back of your hand, whatever that saying is. You know the rules. So let's go over the rules for brand new people. So if you're brand new to Walk Talk Vent, I'm a firm believer that friends and family and things like Mother's Day weekend, are all things that can procrastinate and even cause one to not work out or not walk or to quit their diet. And so what I always try to do is I always try to say, okay, if our job is 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, give or take a day, because sometimes people have a weird schedule, right? We can look at our job one of two ways. We could either look at our job as, hey, that's an untouchable entity, and we're not going to do anything that affects our job. And I agree with that. You can't be missing out on work just to take a walk. That makes no sense. But what we can do is, instead of using our job as an excuse not to work out, we can actually use it as a catalyst, a springboard, if you will, to work out. Well, how do we do that, Jetchy? Well, Bob, what we could do is we could figure out what time exactly we need to get out the door and in our car to leave for work. I like to use the example of 8 o'clock in the morning. If you know that you have to be in your car and on your way to work by 8, that means, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means from 7:30 to 8, you should have a legitimate half hour where you can walk. And I think we'd all agree that this time of year, 7:30 in the morning is going to be pretty comfortable temperature-wise. At least it should, until July, right? So what I would recommend is that you start every day with a 15-minute walk. And then we're going to employ Kaizen. Kaizen is the idea that through baby steps and little 1% and 2% little movements forward, after a while you do enough 1% improvements, you're going to be 100% better than you are now, right? Just takes a little time. So with baby steps and time, moving forward in a positive way, we can achieve really amazing results. So the first thing we're going to do is from 7:30 till 7:45, we're just going to walk around the block. Walk around your immediate block, so in theory, you don't even have to cross the street, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to time how long does it take me to go around the block once. Well, Jesse, I timed it. It takes 12 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is the next day we're going to walk for 2 times around the block, right? About 24 minutes. And just do that for the first week or so, okay? What you'll notice is the first day or two, you'll think it's kind of a waste of time and you're killing your morning that, is your morning coffee time. And I like to watch Good Morning America, right? You got to get those thoughts out of your head. You're not missing too much by ditching 20 minutes of Good Morning America, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to ultimately, since it's a 12-minute walk, 2 of them is 24 minutes. 3 little walks around your block would be, 36 minutes? So what you're going to actually do is try to get to the point where instead of walking at 7:30, you get outside your house at 7:15 or 7:20 and see if you can ultimately go from 1 12-minute walk to 3 12-minute walks right there before you go to work. Well, what happens if I do this, Jesse? Well, if you can slowly but surely build up to that half hour, 35 minutes before work, you might not ever have to walk any more than that. Because a lot of the experts will tell you that a 15 to 30-minute walk daily is optimal. I think it's closer to 45 minutes, but either way, if you can only squeeze in 24 to 36 minutes, I don't know if you'd agree or not, but I'd say that's a heck of a lot better than nothing, okay? So now, through Kaizen and baby steps and your job working as a catalyst, we've now found a way that we can work in a daily walk. One of the things with Kaizen is it literally is kind of like baby stepping your way to bigger goals. So what I'd like you to do as a brand new person is to think about the 90-day challenge that I and other viewers are on, and don't think about it too hard, because I don't want you to commit to a 90-day challenge. What I'd like you to commit to is 15 to 21 days of just doing that walk in the morning, okay? When you commit to that mentally, it's a lot easier, right? Hey, I think I can do this for 2 or 3 weeks, Jesse. I think we got this, right? And then what I'm hoping happens during that time, and you can ask other people in the comment section, because I think it has happened for them, after 15 to 21 days, the human body technically starts to get the walk to be a permanent part of their morning routine. So in other words, after 15 to 21 days, I'm actually hoping that you're habitually hooked and addicted to your walk. Because your walk has 2 elements to it. There's a physical element that, hey, every time I walk half an hour, I'm burning about 150 to 200 calories, depending on how fast and vigorous the walk is, right? But there's a more important part than even losing calories on the walk. In my opinion, the most important part of the walk is the think tank aspect. What do you mean think tank, Jesse? Well, every single one of us has problems and issues and goals that we're trying to accomplish, right? And we're trying to solve. One of the best ways we can do that is to actually be proactive and think about those problems head on. If you're one of these people that likes to solve problems and cross that bridge when you get to it, you're a reactive person. My thinking is, why don't we see if we can become a proactive person? So you know as well as I do, there's going to be things like, your car might break down during the year. When it breaks down, it might be a $500 to $1,500 bill, right? So it might be good to think, how can I avoid that pitfall of going broke if and when my car breaks down, right? So you can ponder things like, I need to save $100 a week out of each paycheck so that I have a way to counter that financial problem I'm going to have when my car breaks down. Hey, you and your son and your daughter haven't been communicating very well, and now your grandchildren are starting to grow older without really having grandma or grandpa in their life. That's where you can be proactive on your walk, and you can say, hey, I think what I need to do is reach out to my children and see if they want to get together this weekend and go to a movie or something, right? So you can really start attacking problems rather than just trying to put your head in the sand and hoping that you can avoid the problem. Remember, it's easy to avoid a problem, but it never solves the problem. It just kind of pushes it down the line. So now what we've done is we've established a really healthy habit, which is a daily walk. Not only is it going to help us physically, but it's also going to help us mentally. One of the other things that I like new people to do is take a food audit. Literally grab pen and paper and put down what times in the day you're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because a lot of times it's usually pretty accurate. In other words, if you go to work at 8, a lot of times you're eating breakfast at 7. If your lunchtime at work is from noon to 1, guess what you're doing from noon to 1? You're eating your lunch. And then if you get home at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, you cook dinner or maybe you pick up dinner, you're usually eating at the same times each day. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down what you're eating. All right, Jesse, what are you eating? Well, when I first started in the morning, I was having a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Captain Crunch, right? Or Fruity Pebbles. When I wasn't having a bowl of sweet cereal and it was a giant bowl, it was never the portion they recommend. So remember, when you're looking at portion sizes and how many calories are there, keep in mind, if you're eating a gigantic size bowl of cereal, you're probably not eating 100 calories worth of Captain Crunch. You're probably eating 300 calories worth of Captain Crunch, right? So what you want to do is you want to keep track of all your meals, but even more importantly, keep track of your snacks. If you were like me, my snack included 1 or 2 cake donuts a day. And if you look up cake donut calories, they can be pretty high and pretty outrageous, okay? So if you don't have a cake donut habit like your boy here, don't start one. But if you do, write it down. Another thing that's super important. Hey, good morning, brother. How are you? Another thing you want to do. I don't have anything on me. So another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep track of your sodas and you want to keep track of your Starbucks, especially if they're sweet, okay? If you're the type that you're going through the line at Starbucks 5 days a week, you know as well as I do, you're probably spending anywhere from $7 or $8 up to maybe 15 a day. That's a great place where we can save some money. And it's also a great place where we can cut out some calories. Because if you're eating a sweet treat from Starbucks every day, let's see if we can Kaizen or baby step that down. So instead of every day, what if you had a coffee every other day to start? So okay, you go from 5 days to, let's say, 3. And then ultimately, we can slowly but surely work that 3 down to maybe 1 time a week, okay? Doesn't have to be super fast. Remember, almost fell there. Remember, it's all about the baby steps, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to attack that food audit one little piece at a time. So what your boy did was he gave up Captain Crunch. While I didn't have soda, I was drinking sweet tea. So what I did to start off was I started eating plain cereal. Plain cereal many times has just as many calories. Okay. Plain cereal has almost as many calories as the sweet stuff. The only difference is when you eat a bowl of plain cereal, you don't necessarily want to have a bowl that's 3 times the recommended portion, right? With Captain Crunch and sweet cereals like that, Frosted Mini Wheats, oh my God, I love Frosted Mini Wheats. It's very easy to have seconds or thirds. When you're eating a boring cereal, a lot of times you're okay with just a portion size, okay? And what I mean by boring cereals are, Cheerios. What about Honey Nut Cheerios, Jesse? Well, Honey Nut Cheerios is a great way to step down from Captain Crunch or Fruity Pebbles, right? But at the same time, I want you guys to remember that because it's still sweet, you'll eventually crave a second and third bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. So if you want to step down in 1 week, get Honey Nut Cheerios with the idea that the following week you're going to step down to regular Cheerios or rice or corn Chex, whatever boring, unflavored cereal you can get. I'm even a fan of Kellogg's Corn Flakes, as long as they're not sweet. And since they're not sweet and they're pretty boring, you could probably make do with the generic store version of Corn Flakes too. If you don't like Corn Flakes, what I recommend is kind of what Sherry Lorena recommends, which is have a nice bowl of oatmeal. The difference between me and Sherry is I think you should make your oatmeal as boring as possible. The reason is for the first couple days that you try this diet, you're going to wake up with the normal hunger pangs that you have in the morning. And those hunger pangs are urging you to have Captain Crunch. And by the way, I was the type that if I didn't have a sweet bowl of cereal, I would usually have 3 strips of bacon, 2 over medium eggs, and then a good sized flour tortilla. So even when I wasn't having sweets, I was probably having a cholesterol bomb of a breakfast, right? So now instead of sweet cereal, I'm eating boring cereal. And now instead of bacon and eggs and a flour tortilla, I'm eating plain oatmeal. So what happens when you do that, Jesse? Well, what happens is at first you wake up and you have those normal hunger pangs that you always do, and you end up eating your bowl of unsweetened oatmeal, and you find out pretty quickly that the more water you put in oatmeal, the more it thickens up eventually, right? So oatmeal might appear like this small little portion, but it expands in your stomach, takes up space, has the ability to grab stuff on its way out, so to speak. So you end up finding out after a couple days that you're a little bit more regular than maybe you normally would. Now, guys tend to be a little bit more regular than women, or at least I think we are. But the reality is, girls, if you're not as regular as you'd like, just this little switch might actually make you more regular. Well, I don't know, Jesse. I poop when I drink coffee, and I don't want to quit my coffee. Well, don't quit your coffee then, Edith. Just lower the sugar in it. Okay? If you have plain coffee, you're still going to get the benefits of waking up. You're just kind of lessening the amount of sugar you get. Well, I'm going to use the pink stuff in my coffee, Jesse. Do it, Edith. Put a little bag of the pink stuff in there. Remember, there's nothing wrong, so to speak, with artificial sweeteners, but they have one effect on our brain, whether we like it or not. They keep us eating sweet stuff. And when you have sweet stuff, you're perpetuating that sweet tooth of yours into the future. And ideally, we'd like to dampen that sweet tooth, right? Because one of the goals that we have and we need to do is we need to restrict our calories, but we want to do it in a fun, easy way. Is there such a thing, Jesse? Yes, there is. Most of the people that are walking with me actually get to the point where they want to try to baby step their way to a higher level. What does that mean? That means that even if I told you not to mess with the sugar, you would ultimately want to eventually lessen the sugar on your own. Because you know in your heart of hearts, that's the way to lose weight, okay? So what happens on your 4th or 5th day of eating boring oatmeal or boring cereal is pretty soon you're okay with actually skipping a breakfast. Intermittent fasting might be dangerous. It might have long-term consequences. I don't know if I believe that or not, but it might, okay? So what I'm saying is not to wake up and starve yourself till lunch like a lot of intermittent fasters do, at least at the beginning. My thought is eat that plain oatmeal every morning until you get to the point where your body and your mind says, I'm sick of oatmeal, I'm gonna skip it, okay? When that happens, you're immediately gonna start to notice some quick weight loss, okay? And again, keep in mind what I'm saying. If your body, mind, and soul says, I'm hungry, eat your oatmeal. Because again, you're more than likely eating a regular portion of oatmeal. You're not eating a second and third helping of bacon and eggs or cereal, okay? Also, if you eliminate some of that dairy and milk, you might find out that inflammation kind of becomes a less sore subject for you. You might actually start going to the bathroom better. And some of us get proteins from milk that actually we're good with. I'm one of these guys that, to my knowledge, I don't really have any trouble with dairy. But right now, I'm not eating cereal. I've been eating oatmeal. And in case you're wondering how many times a week I skip breakfast, it's more of a situation where I just delay. So I don't feel like I'm skipping a meal, even though technically I am. About 2 or 3 days out of the week, what I'll simply do is just kind of skip breakfast, but I'll still have my early morning snack. And by the way, sometimes for my early morning snack, I still have that bowl of boring oatmeal, okay? So if all of a sudden your first morning meal is oatmeal, but maybe instead of 7 in the morning, it's closer to 10:15 or 10:30, then all of a sudden your lunch that you would normally eat at 11, maybe you can prolong that till 1. And then what you can do is have a lunch like you normally would, and that might make a situation where you can skip your afternoon snack and just wait till dinner. Oh, I don't know, Jesse. This easy diet's starting to sound like a pain in the butt. Well, that's why you have to do baby steps at your pace, Bob, okay? So if baby steps for you is to jump right into things and start immediately cutting down your sweets, increasing your walk, drinking a lot of water, which by the way is another component to this, all right? So imagine if ultimately instead of those 2 or 3 Coca-Colas that you're having a day, what if you had water? Well, I don't know, Jesse, I need my Coca-Cola, I need my caffeine. All right, let's say you're right, let's say you absolutely need it. I don't think you need 3 or 4 cans. We could baby step our way down. So today you drink 3 or 4 cans like you normally do. Just try to add your walk and try to do your food audit on piece of paper and pen, right? Mark down what you're eating for a week. Contemplate walking with us just mentally for a couple of days, right? You don't have to actually get your shoes on and walk. Just take a mental walk with us. You'll quickly note that I'm out here every day. You'll also know in the comments that other viewers are out here walking every day. And sometimes when we know that we're not the only one, it makes things a little easier. And if you're drinking 4 sodas, you probably do have a little bit of an addiction to it, right? So just to cutting down to 3 or 2 sodas is a significant step in the right direction, okay? Hopefully by cutting down to 2 sodas, you don't really feel like you're punishing yourself, because a lot of restrictive diets end up being the reason we quit them, okay? So it's real important that you take the baby step thoughts seriously, because they really are what makes this plan work. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be ultimately cutting out the sugar, one little baby step at a time, to the point where you get like I am now, where you haven't had sugar in a month or so. I'm not against fruits. So if you're used to having a shake or a bowl of chocolate ice cream in the evening, what I recommend you do is go to the store, get yourself a bunch of bananas. Usually a bunch of bananas averages about $1.50. So it's very inexpensive, much cheaper than ice cream, right? Get yourself an ice tray, make yourself some ice cubes, and then get yourself a little personal blender. Throw a little milk, ice, and banana into the blender. Now, right now, I can see exercise physiologists scrolling their eyes, right? Rolling their eyes, saying that's just as bad as ice cream. No, it's not, okay? When you eat it, you're gonna notice that you fill up, not down. When you eat it, you're gonna notice, hey, this is pretty bland. So in other words, it's one of those things that what's going to happen is as you lessen your sugar intake, that bland banana smoothie is actually going to start tasting really sweet. And I'm not joking. If any of you have quit eating sugar, you're going to quickly notice that things taste incredibly sweet to you. Even boring things like Cheerios and cornflakes, you're going to get to the point where you can taste the sugar content in them. It's really trippy. Sheila, you've been sugar-free, I think you said, since 2018. Maybe in the comments you can let us know how sweet fruit tastes since 2018, right? Because I'm sure before then, it didn't taste nearly as sweet as it does now to you. But when you go X amount of years without eating sugar, you'll start to notice sugar in everything that you taste. And so the key with the banana smoothie is not that you're getting addicted to another sweet thing, right? But if you did have a banana smoothie for the rest of your life instead of that bowl of ice cream, you would notice a significant difference in your weight. It might take a year or two, but you would slowly but surely start to notice a big positive change. Remember, that banana has some fiber in it. There are some people that love fruit, but they say, Jesse, when you blend it, you're breaking up those fibrous bonds. You're taking away from the fiber content of the fruit itself. So you don't necessarily want to stay on the banana smoothie forever, but here's the thing. Nobody in the world is addicted to bananas. People might tolerate bananas and enjoy a banana, but nobody's addicted to a banana, okay? So the reason we do the banana smoothie instead of the milkshake is the milkshake is addictive because it's yummy as heck. I love milkshakes. Everybody does, okay? By going to the banana smoothie, you're putting yourself in a situation much like the oatmeal, where there's going to be a day in the future where you say, you know what, I'm going to skip the snack. When you start skipping snacks, when you start eliminating donuts, when you start going from 3 or 4 sodas down to 1 or 2, that's when you can start looking up a month or 2 down the road and you'll notice, holy moly, Jesse, I've lost 20 pounds. It takes about 3 or 4 weeks and you'll start to lose inches. So pretty soon those clothes that you couldn't fit into anymore, pretty soon they're going to start feeling loose. And that's a wonderful feeling. Pretty soon that puffy arms that you have, you know how a lot of people get this flab under their arms, right? Pretty soon that's going to start tightening up. So you got to be able to look at the clues, because at first the scale's going to lie to you. Your first 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, you might not lose a single pound. But you know something's happening because you're walking faster, you're drinking more water, you're avoiding sugar. You're just in that zone where you have to wait for your body to say, okay, I don't think I need to maintain all this fat. And what happens when you eat sugar and you immediately go on a walk, you're actually using that sugar as energy. When you take away the sugar, and you don't have to take it all away, but if you take away a good 90% of the sugar, your body starts to use your fat as the energy. So what happens is, after 45 to 60 days, you start to become the incredible shrinking mom, or the incredible shrinking dad, or better yet, the incredible shrinking grandpa, right? So what happens is you'll be in a situation like me, where all of a sudden, about a month and a half, 2 months later, I'm down to 175, okay? At 175, this is a weight where I was hoping to start my, I was hoping I would start at 175, but what happened is I ended up getting to 185. So in the video that you just saw today, because keep in mind, you're going to see this on Sunday, but if you're watching today's video, which is Saturday, we're learning about Kaizen. And we're learning about it from Myrna Thal. And I was just amazed to find her video, because she feels the exact same way about Kaizen that I do. When you look at a diet and exercise routine or a 90-day challenge, it can seem really daunting, like, God, do I really want to go through this again? Because a lot of times you won't. But when you baby step things, it just works better, works easier for you. And so what happens is, as a 175-pound person like I am now, that means going forward, I'm probably going to have even less hunger going forward. So every day, I'm putting myself in a situation where now I'm more efficient. Now, instead of 185 pounds of complete flab, I'm 175 pounds of a little flab, but I'm also starting to develop some muscle, because guess what I'm baby stepping into? I'm baby stepping into doing 10 push-ups a day. And I was doing 10 push-ups, but this past week I did closer to 14 to 16. I'm a real believer in baby steps. So if you're doing 1 or 2 push-ups a day and you think this is silly and it's not helping, it actually is. It's getting your muscles and tendons used to doing 1 or 2 push-ups. And if you can make it a goal where every week I'm going to double that push-up number. So, your first week you do 1, 2, 3, or 4 push-ups a day. By week 2, maybe you do closer to 3, 4, 5 push-ups a day, right? And after a month or so, guess what? You're starting to do 10 or 15 push-ups a day. If you can get to the point where you do 20 or 25, it's my opinion that that's all you need. Now, if you want to start doing 100 push-ups or 1,000 push-ups a day, and maybe you're in your 20s or 30s, you might be amazed at how ripped you can get, right? But if you're 40 or 50 or 60 like we are, just by doing 5 or 10 push-ups, it's not too daunting, and you're going to start to notice that as you lose weight, you still maintain muscle. Remember, that's part of the problems with these GLP-1s and semaglutide type of medications. They have you lose a lot of weight, but you're not necessarily losing fat, you're losing half muscle. So you don't really want to do that, believe it or not, because if you do that and you have success, you've probably lost quite a bit of muscle, which is kind of synonymous with aging if you think about it. Because a lot of elderly people naturally shrink, right? So if you're causing yourself to shrink with medications, you might be losing muscle. So all of a sudden you're going to feel drained and tired. So if you want to go that route, and let's say you're really overweight and your doctor thinks you should go with one of these injectable medications, ask your doctor if he thinks it's safe enough for you to at least try this 90-day challenge. Because I'm sorry, but if you're 240 pounds, you might really want to go on these medications. But look what's happening nowadays. They actually are going through a shortage, right? And when there's a shortage, you get all these YouTubers that jump up and come up with these great plans on how you can get by the shortage, right? And before you know it, you're thinking about jumping from one Ozempic to Mounjaro to Wegovy. You're thinking about doing all these jumps just so you don't lose out on your medication. And do you really want a medication that is going to constantly go up in price? Because the last I checked, when the demand is high and the supply is low, guess what happens to the cost? It gets jacked up. These medications are expected to pass Viagra. They're expected to become the leading producer of cash flow for pharmaceuticals in history. So in other words, there's actually a financial onus and gain for you to be on this medication in their eyes. And whenever you have a situation like that, how is that any different than the local drug dealer in your neighborhood? If you lose your job, are you going to be able to afford a medication that might run you north of $1,000 a month? I'm guessing for many of us the answer is no. And the problem with these medications is if you end up getting off of them, the weight comes back, and it comes back with a vengeance. A lot of times people will lose 40 or 50 pounds, but then when they get off the semaglutides, all of a sudden they have a situation where they gain back the 30 or 40 plus an additional 10 or 15. And you don't want anything that really affects your body like that. So again, if you're on these medications and you're here just to walk with us and drink water and avoid sugar, wonderful, I'm proud of you to walk with us. But if you're in that situation where you're contemplating going on these medications, or you're contemplating getting weight loss surgery, if you're 400 or 500 pounds, go get the surgery. It's going to save your life, right? But if you're 240 and you just feel really round and heavy and unhappy with yourself, God, just walking alone might be able to give you that extra pep in your step. So ask your doctor if it's safe enough for you to walk with us for 90 days before you make your final decision. Because I firmly believe we can get you to lose 30 pounds in 90 days. So let's take your 240 pound woman as an example. In 90 days, if we get you a little bit closer to 210, and then we reset the clock at 90 days and do it again, then in that second 90 days, we might be able to get you from 210 maybe down to the 190s. And once we get you in the 190s and get you addicted to a walk, get you off the sugar, you might be well on your way to the 150s again. So I think all things are possible. There used to be a show called The Biggest Loser, and people would lose 2/3 of their body weight. You guys saw that show. People would go from 350 down to 180, 160, and they would win the show, right? But then we started to hear stories that 6 months to 12 months later, these people that were winning and getting in the top 2 or 3 finalists and losing a ton of weight, they ended up gaining a lot of that weight back. And the reason they did is because they were going through like a boot camp with Bob Harper and Jillian, right? On the show, they were literally like tortured. At least that's what I consider it, when people are crying and they want to quit and get off the bike and Jillian and Bob wouldn't let them. That's kind of torturous. So what happens is when they step away from the show, they end up gaining weight back like crazy. Here we develop a baby step formula where every week, every month, you can actually take it up a notch. Well, what if I don't want to take it up a notch, Jesse? Well, if you start losing weight, you might not ever have to. You don't necessarily have to keep baby stepping forever. You can get to the point like me where you just naturally walk every day. There's no going up from there, guys. You're walking every day. If you start walking instead of 60 minutes, you start walking 90 minutes, you're probably going to get that much better benefit. So remember, Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N. It's really the key to weight loss. It's that magic silver bullet that you've been looking for. And for people that have been walking with me for 2 months, tell me how you've baby stepped since the beginning. Tell me how you've improved. Even if it's going from 4 sodas down to 3, I want to hear about it. And I want you to have a wonderful Mother's Day. And even if you're not a mom, I want you to have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.